All right, Kristen, hold on. I have Rita's up. Let me make sure it's yours. I said nothing but positive comments. Very strong paper. I think as we've gone through this process, we've just gotten really good at writing papers, y'all. I'm impressed with everybody's work as I read. These are the things that really stuck out to me, Kristen, about your paper that I think were really strong. The content that you brought in, the sources that you used, for me, I really enjoyed, and I think Susan said this last week, you're using new resources that we don't have. So there's a book in there that Susan mentioned last week. So I was able to jot down, hey, these are titles I'd like to read, because I think you had some fantastic thoughts and research brought into your paper. So I really enjoyed that part of your paper. Moving on to the next part of the prompt, I really like that you used 2 instruments for your best practices. You had the teacher survey, and then you had your observational survey data, and you talked in detail extensively about both sets of data. So I think that was a really, I think that was a good idea and a strength of your paper, because it gave an outsider, like, I feel like I could go into your school and have a really good idea of what's going on because of how you did your checklist and your observational data. Moving on down to the very bottom, and I don't know the page number because I only have the rubric pulled up. At the very end, when you're talking about wrapping up your needs assessment and finding the greatest need, you identified it as staff development. I absolutely loved and was like, oh my gosh, she's brilliant. When you said, like, by choosing staff development, I'm going to be able to focus on all 5 of the areas. That was, like, that's still in my mind. I'm like, gosh, I wish I could use that in my paper now, but Kristen's already done it, so I can't do it. And then you went on to talk about how staff development would strengthen all of the areas. So I really think that's a highlight of your paper. And then I said all of your citations are correct. Your grammar, I pointed out 2 really small things to go back and look at. But it's exceptional. The work is really high quality. Very nice.
Thank you.
She didn't leave me anything to say.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I feel like I don't have anything to add.
You go first next time, so you get to say it all next.
Yay! I guess because Kristen and I already kind of spoke when we were clarifying things for each other, and you just did a great job. I will say that the chart that you had, that pie chart you had on page 3, I loved, and I've looked at trying to make one of those for my next task when we have to put the data back in, because I really thought, like, I just put all mine in a table format, so that was a great visual for me to see. And I think when you can see it broken down into the pieces in a pie chart, it's clear, you know, the strengths and weaknesses that way. And I hadn't thought about doing that, so I think that really added to, you know, your data and your research there, because it was very, you know, easy to see what the strengths and weaknesses were from your data. So that was a great idea, and I'm going to look at using one of those, like I said, when I get to my task 3. And I really don't have anything else to add from what Brooke said. I thought you did an amazing job, and since I read yours, I've tried to think of a way I could tie all of my 5 areas in together. It was really amazing. Good job.
Thank you. And I corrected all of the grammar and all of that we were talking about, because I saw some similarities between yours and Brooke's with that.
Okay, good.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll move into Susan's paper.
Okay. I think that you did a really good job with supporting course content and using appropriate sources and all of that stuff. I did mention just on the first few sentences of page 1, you used Old Town a lot. So just maybe reword it to where you're not, you know, Old Town, Old Town, Old Town.
Right.
I loved your observation tools on page 2. That's something that I really took note on. And on page 3, you had, I like how you use data on your return surveys. You really talked about how many were used, how many returned. So that just tells me that you thought of every aspect of everything that was going on. Really, the only thing there is, as I was reading, I didn't know exactly what questions you were talking about until I got to the bottom of that one section. So, and I think that Rita explained that when she was looking at my paper with one of mine, it was like she didn't know what I was talking about until I got to the bottom and saw the visual. So I don't know if you want to consider just a suggestion, maybe moving that up in the paragraph, which I noticed you did that with all of yours. So it's like once I understood how your paper was flowing, I didn't know if I needed to write that or not, but I put it in there just in case. And that's up to you. I think you had just a few spacing errors with just needs assessment, needing a heading, the needs assessment heading, just backspacing. I think it might just have been how you put it in and uploaded it, kind of like I had that mistake one time a while back. Basically, I thought your paper was easy to read. I mean, to me, it flowed nicely. It was organized. Just, the rewording for Old Town a couple of times. And that's basically all. Posting the data maybe closer to the top. So I think, like Brooke said, I think we're improving tremendously.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, Susan, I thought you did a great job, just like Kristen has stated. I like how you have your graph and with what your descriptions were underneath it. I felt like it was really easy to read. As I talked to you earlier about, let me get the correct page. On page 8, under where you have your questions 1, 2, and 3, I think you were looking at the chart above it, but it's really the chart underneath.
I was doing exactly what Kristen just said. I was looking at the wrong data.
The data didn't match up, and I was like, wait a minute. So I had to go back and look to make sure. But
which is a good point. I should probably put the data first and then explain it. So
yeah. But it still flowed very well. I mean, because you had your headings there, so it was easy, to read and follow. I like how you have your references in there, about your research. Good job on that. I liked on page 7 how when you talked about the teachers that responded with a no, but I liked how you put why it was a no. So that clarified that really good. And lastly, just on page 10, you mentioned your focus, so that within the next page, they already know what you're getting ready to talk about. So I like how you kind of set that up and prepare that. Other than that, I thought you did a great job.
Thank you.
Great job. You're welcome.
All right, it's Rita's paper, and Susan, you can go first.
I'm gonna have something to say this time. All right, Rita, I thought you did an amazing job. For the first part, you did such a good job with your course content and putting in research and things we had been reading about from Blackboard. You did a great job with that. I spoke to you on the phone the other day because I think we were all confused and struggling with how to address all 5 areas, all 5 of those components, how to address those in our gap analysis. But I think since we've spoken, you've been trying to come up with a way to make sure that you target everything. For the ones you did, I thought you did a great job and you supported each of your sections with a lot of data. I like how you have yours set up. Let me flip back because I can't think of how you worded it. Like when you said strengths from the best practices survey, and then your weaknesses, you had everything in there. Yours was worded a little bit differently, like your headings than mine. But I like the way you did it. I mean, it was good to look at it that way. I hadn't thought about doing mine, in that format or whatever. So that was really good. On page 7, let me go back to make sure I'm telling you the right page. Yeah, when you're talking about your walkthrough model and you're going through, I think for that chart that you have above with the 6 levels of blooms, just for clarification for somebody that's not familiar with all those, it might be helpful. You had a little blurb or an example of each, like when you have create, like have an example of a question or an activity or just an explanation of what each of those 6 things are, just to make it easier to understand when you're reading that whole section.
Okay.
Other than that, I can't think of anything to help strengthen your paper because I thought you did a great job. But I think that would help clarify that whole section because you have a lot of data in there, a lot of research and information about blooms. So I just feel like that would help.
Okay.
With the understanding of the paper if you just explained what they were.
Okay.
But great job.
Thank you. Okay.
All right. Piggybacking off of what she said, I didn't put that in my rubric or in my review about including the blooms, but I was just thinking about it as she was talking. You could include that just in the appendix of your paper if you don't want to go back into the narrative, Rita.
Okay.
Just see appendix and then pull in explanation on blooms. You read my paper, correct?
Yes.
At
Yes.
the end of mine, can you hear me?
My printer is going.
Okay. At the end of mine,
Say that again, Brooke.
I said at the end of my paper, I have the Marzano stuff, and I have
Yeah, that's all that.
that would be an example of what you could do with the bloom.
Okay. Let me put that on the thing. Okay.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Okay. I'll make a note of that.
I just think it would help clarify when you're reading it. Because
Okay.
I struggle because I know what blooms is. I think not everybody does, but as far as relating it to what you were saying, it would have been helpful.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that. I didn't think about that. I didn't pick up on that. I agree with Susan that the flow of the paper works really well. You did it differently than we did. We talked about this last time with your task 1. You didn't choose to use the headings that we did, and we questioned that last time for task 1. But I think your task 2, like it just works. And I think how you did your strengths and your weaknesses, like everything just makes sense. And I wanted to point that out because last time we went back and forth at the end of the review what you should do. Like I really liked how you did your task 2.
I didn't go back in head.
Good. I'm proud of you. I think your gap analysis is the strongest, presentation of the data. Like you just thoroughly, extensively, you just told us everything that was going on. And I really enjoyed reading it, which is odd because when do you think about really enjoying reading something? But you know what I mean. I did list some grammar and mechanical stuff.
Okay.
I don't know if you've had a chance to look at that.
I did. I put it off.
I won't read all that out to you, but if you have any questions, don't hesitate to call me, and I'll go through those with you.
Okay.
I would go through and just check your consistency of your headings.
Okay.
I noticed that you started underlining some of your headings. And then Susan pointed this out to me in my paper. Make sure your tables and your charts, all of that stuff, you're consistently labeling them the same way. So bold your titles for your tables. Make sure your charts are bolded.
Okay. I did have one question for you, Brooke.
Mm-hmm.
On one part of my paper, you asked me not to put at the candidate school under the part about recruitment and hiring. And I was just, when I did that, I was wondering whether I should or not. Do you think it implies that it's a bad school, or a bad principal?
It's kind of like what Kristen said to Susan, you're just using at the candidate school, at the candidate school, at the candidate school
Okay.
in that paragraph. It's like on page 12, we know we're in your school. So
Right.
I just think it's redundant to say in that paragraph at the candidate school.
Okay. Because when I wrote it, I felt like I was actually putting my principal down. You know what I'm saying? Well, she's not, because that's really what I'm saying. But,
I didn't take it that way as you were putting it on the principal.
Okay.
And then the last thing that I would make sure you go back and add in are the dates to your in-text citations. Like you have Ubin,
Okay.
but you
Yes.
don't have the year
I got it.
of publication.
Okay.
But those are, none of those like affect the quality or of the content. Like your narrative is very well written. These are just minor things to go back
Okay.
and make adjustments to.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Very nice work.
Thank you.
All right, let me pull my paper up. All right, Rita, if you'd like to start.
Okay. Got like 5 papers here. Okay, Brooks. Okay.
Susan,
Brooke,
I tried to start doing it on the screen. I can't stand this. Reading it.
well, Brooke, I thought you did an excellent job. Excellent job. As I went through, great job at the beginning with the school profile. Excellent. Because it brought us up because we remember way back from task 1 or 2 from the AAPTEL, but we haven't heard about it since then as far as the profile. So I thought you did a great job with that. I thought your checklists were very good. They were clear, easy to follow. My only question was, which I spoke to you about earlier, was in the best practice checklist where you had under recruitment, placement, and mentoring, where you had those listed, but I didn't get a clarification until I got to page 11 of what you meant.
So I went back in all of those charts, starting at the very top, and just added a line that said, let me check my wording,
Okay.
that says formal and informal role of teacher.
Okay. Okay.
Does that clarify? Would that clarify?
Yeah. That would for me. That would for me. So I think that's good. But other than that, like I said, I thought your charts were good. Your research and referring back to your readings were great. What I really liked about it was that, let me get to the page. On page 15, where you had the data from 2014 and 2016, the comparison, I really like that because you can see where you were and where you are now and how you can improve on that. So I really like that graph. That really spoke volumes there about your school. But other than that, I think everything looks good. APA was good. So great job.
Thank you.
Okay. I think you did a great job with delegating your tasks to other people at your school.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think to do that. It's kind of like I was running around and doing all of the stuff myself. So, which my school is rather small. But, yeah, that kind of, I feel like you did a really good job at explaining your data collection process. And sometimes I tend to get a little bit behind on that. You know, I remember at the beginning of the semester, he was talking about, I want to see more of how you're collecting your data and how you're doing all this rather than just getting it done. So I felt like you did a really good job with that. I mean, that was just kind of like a wow for me. Mm-hmm. So that, to me, that was just exceptional. But on page 6, you were talking about your school improvement team. It seems like you're getting a lot of your, which could be a good thing, you're getting a lot of your decision making, your professional development, and all of that in one paragraph here, where it starts talking about it is clear that teachers do not feel empowered when chosen. Do you know what section I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. I'm getting there. Yeah.
Right there. Are those the, should this be in the professional development section, or are we there yet? What section are we in?
Okay, we're still under teacher leadership and decision making.
Okay.
And I've thought about your comment of should I move all of that professional development stuff down, since professional development is its own component. Mm-hmm. But in my checklist for decision-making best practices, one of the things is just providing input into offerings for staff development.
Okay.
So I'm trying to show that at my school, you can't say you can't provide input. Mm-hmm. The principal gives you opportunities to. Okay. If you're not doing it, you're not doing it.
Yeah.
That's
so
what I'm trying to say.
Saying your data, I kind of got that where you, because like I said, I asked myself, like with your school improvement plan, one of the things you said is that everyone can attend. It's like an open door attendance policy. Okay, so that's something that is available at your school. Okay, I didn't know if that was a best practice or if it's actually what's happening at your school. So with that happening at your school, I can see why you have that there now. And I think that's good that you pointed that out. What else?
I did change the wording a little bit in this.
I'm looking on my iPad, so it's kind of like, is that page 6?
I did change the wording of the school improvement stuff to make it just a little bit more clear.
Yeah, yeah. I think that looks nice. That looks good. That's really my only thing is if that should have been, professional development, which I also found in my paper as well. It was, some of the things went hand in hand. It's like this goes with decision making as well. The only things that were kind of crazy was like, okay, recruitment, mentoring, and placement, and staff evaluation. So the rest of it to me, I could kind of put in one paper or one heading. And then I see where you fixed your concluding paragraph, which we talked about that, texting and stuff. I think that's a plenty what you have there.
Thank you.
I think I'm looking at your copy you actually posted.
Yeah, I didn't save the one before I made edits.
Well,
so.
I didn't either. Yeah. I just went ahead and edited mine and posted it. But and I really like your appendix. You have a lot of good stuff there. I mean, it's very informative. Looks like you know your stuff. So I think everything looks great. Like I said, the delegating part was a plus. You're not just running around doing all that crazy. So.
Well, I didn't know how to get it done in 5 days.
Yeah. I need to do that. I need to sit there and say, how can I do this to where I have some help? I shouldn't be doing this.
Because we were going on spring break. I was like, I have to get this done. We're going on spring break.
Yeah.
So
your citations look good. Everything looks great to me.
Right. Thank you.
Great job.
Okay.
All right. I think that's the shortest one we've ever done, y'all.
So do I just press stop recording? It's been so long since I've been the Zoom master. So if I stop recording, y'all will still be on there?
Yes.
No, doesn't it cut off when you stop?
No, you have to leave meeting. So press stop.
Okay, I'm going to press stop. I hope nothing happens.